are watching 32 teams in 32 days on the Game Time Sports Network.
It's a great day, sports world. We are back attacking the NFC South now. The first team in the NFC South, Carolina Panthers, won the division at 8-9. Came down to the last game of the season, last couple games of the season, something like that. But they missed the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years prior to that. And Dave Canales seemed to got these guys on the right path here. Got some guys that about to miss the season. With, Nick Gordon and other guys that we'll get into. But Carolina's here, man. Bryce Young got these boys. Bryce Young, got benched and come back and start playing out of his mind. So, what's your take on this Panthers team here? How you doing, by the way, bro?
I'm doing good, man. It's a good Wednesday afternoon, man. Time running together, man. Everything just like right now. But yeah, man. This Carolina let's start with Bryce Young here. You mentioned before that he got benched. Was it second year for was it second year? But for Andy Dalton, third one of the two. Like I said, everything running together right now. Second to third year, he got benched behind Andy Dalton. Then they gave him the starting spot back, and he's looked better post benching. There's still some inconsistency, some question marks that you have with his game. Being a shorter stature quarterback coming out of Alabama, if he's 5'11", that's a miracle. So he's probably around the 5'10" mark. Last year, they did well. You want to say they backdoored into the playoffs, as you can say that, with the play of Young. Rico Dowdle was there last year, I believe. And then you got, your number 4 overall pick, not number 4, but like number 7 overall pick, 8, whatever he was, Ted McMillan. I can't remember the numbers. He came in and contributed right away. You had Xavier Legette, which is a first round pick, come in and contribute. Didn't have the best finish to the season. And then you get a surprising Jalen Coker come through and be your de facto wide receiver 2/1 and sometimes. And I know they got Jonathan Brooks that was coming off of ACL. He didn't play at all last year. So there was some pieces that was inconsistent and missing. Ike Ekwonu, he dealt with some injuries. The defense played, well with Derek Brown, J.C. Horn. You're getting Trayvon Merritt come over on a big free agency contract. So this team made the playoffs. They went 8-9. It wasn't sexy by any chance, but, they made a run. They gave the Rams a run for their money almost down to the last couple seconds. And it was a divisional round?
Wild card.
Wild card round. The wild card round. And, hopefully they can build off that in 2026. But, a lot's riding on Bryce this year because it's a crossing the roads for him. Do they extend him? Do they go out and find another guy? That's a question that, all the Panthers fans want to be answered. Bryce Young would like to be there long term, but, it's also ultimately up to him and his play, whether that happens or not.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna harp on anything you said about Bryce because it's all facts. And as I already showed, what's the next step? And the next step there's got to be divisional round or championship round. You know how I feel towards short quarterbacks.
Yeah, you had one.
we had one, but that didn't work out. So I mean, but Bryce is definitely matured. It seems since his benching, it seems like he's matured. It seems like he's finding the right reads and everything, and putting his team on the right path. Over 3,000 yards that he's passed for, that was a career high for him. What was his touchdowns? He had 23 touchdowns, also a career high. 11 interceptions. I think he tied his mark for his first season. He threw like 11 interceptions. His second season, I think that dipped to like maybe 9 or something like that, but still around the same range. Chuba Hubbard, that seems to be your starter right now. And if you look at his numbers, you would think that he got a bag as well. But you didn't think Rico was going to be the 1,000-yard running back. Rico, 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He's going to Pittsburgh now. But Soon as Chuba came off that 2024, 1,100 yards, 1194, 1195 on the yards, and 10 touchdowns. He had a pretty damn good year. And then Rico comes in. Now he's put back. He's splitting the carries. Played 15 games, started 6, 511 on the yards. You wouldn't think about that if you signing a running back to a second contract. So when with Chuba in that group, and then Jonathan Brooks, hoping you spent a second round pick on him, and for like 2 years he hasn't been able to play. He did play this past Friday, this past
Yeah, he
weekend.
played. He played.
So I'm hoping that they can get some production out of him as well. How far do you see this run game going with him and Chuba, if it just so happens to be? How far do you see that contributing to this offense?
Yeah, I see it contributing a whole lot, man. They're waiting on Jonathan Brooks to be the second round guy out of Texas that he was 3 years ago. He was super duper duper productive at Texas, and they need that to spell Chuba up because Rico Dowdle's a big piece that's leaving the building and going to Pittsburgh then. So they're gonna rely on the run game, take the pressure off Bryce Young, continue him to throw the ball in the field to the guys, Teddy Roy, Jatavian Sanders, Coker, and Xavier Leggett. They're gonna need his contribution, this season to take them to the next step and get them to the divisional round. Hopefully, if not, dare I say, I'm not gonna say it like you said with the Jets though. So
Speaking of the Jets, if Carolina didn't have Ted McMillan, that receiving room would look just like the Jets. With Garrett Wilson being the leading receiver with like 300 some yards. Well, after Ted McMillan's 1,000 yards, he had 1,014 yards and 7 touchdowns. But Xavier Leggett, 363. That was your next leading receiver. And then Rico Dowdle, and then Jalen Coker had 394. So that was your starting group right there. As far as receivers, tight end, I thought that they would at least pick him up a nice tight end during the draft. Jatavian Sanders, just 190 on the yards.
that's it.
That's it. He had 34, 29, and 190. And Tommy Tremble, 37, 27, and 249 targets, receiving yards, and yards, just in case y'all don't know what I'm talking about, in that order.
Wow.
And he had 2 touchdowns. So that was it. Jalen Coker, 43, 33, and 394, and 3 touchdowns. Like, it's not a lot of production. Xavier Leggett, 64, 35, and 363. Not a lot of production out of that. And these guys are playing 15 games for Xavier Leggett, 11 games for Coker. Jatavian Sanders had 5 starts in 13 games. Like, other than that, everybody's pretty much playing. So you got to find a little bit more support out of that receiving. As we talk about the offensive rookie of the year, Ted McMillan seems to be the guy. Wide receiver 1, you were pretty high on him coming out in the draft, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah. If we didn't take a running back, I think he would have been number 2 on my card, as far as draft prospect.
So he's made a big contribution, and this year he looked to make even bigger contribution. Talk about Dave Canales right here in 34 games. I forgot that this is going into his 3rd season. Man, these years be flying by. 34 games, he got a 13 and 21 record. He won the NFC South as his 2nd season as head coach. Does Canales have this team on the right path of winning?
Yeah, man, you like what Dave Canales has done for this franchise, taking over year 1 to year 2, the progression. It's not easy for a second year coach come in and win a division, like he did. So that's it's showing that he's got the right people around, the right staff around, and then that GM Dan Morgan, who's a former Carolina Panther, he knows that team, the organization through and through. I think he's been huge for this organization, and Dave Tepper hiring him to run it. He's made some great signings, some great trades, some great draft picks. So it's all when everything marinates and sinks together. This is what you have. You have a foundation to move forward, and a head coach is going to be there for a while, in my opinion, until everything falls to the wayside. But I don't see that happening no time soon.
This offense. This offense was they ranked 18.3 or 27 in 18.3 points per game. Red zone 24th, 27th in yards per game, 25th on third down. And they just seem to come together at the end of the season. So I would love to see a little bit more spark out of this offense.
It ain't sexy.
It's not sexy. I don't see it being sexy this year. But if you want to talk about this O line here, Ike Ekwonu, 8 sacks allowed. He's still recovering from a knee injury. I believe he played like 15 games. Damian Lewis had allowed 1 sack. Luke Fortner 5 sacks, 10 starts. Robert Hunt had just played 2 games. Taylor Moton just 5 sacks, and I believe he going into a contract year. And Rasheed Walker coming over from Green Bay allowed 7 sacks. Monroe Freeland should be somewhere in the starting lineup because I think Eki probably won't start the season because he's still recovering. But as you see right there, 35 sacks taken, tied for 12th, and they were 25th in quarterback pressure. So I know you had your thoughts on the offensive line in previous shows. How do you see this offensive line going? And as far as Monroe Freeland and his contributions to the line as well, because I think you were pretty high on him as well.
Yeah, I like Monroe Freeland, man. He got brought to my attention late, not late, but like midway through the draft process. Ike Ekwonu he was a high first round pick. I think he was a top 10 pick for them way back in the day. Well, not way back in the day, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And injuries is, the thing that comes to me with him is he's injured, 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 injured. And at some point, he says once you get injured, you stay injured. So I probably think this will be the last year for him in Carolina, barring some amazing turnaround. And I expect Monroe Freeland to get that start at right tackle. And ultimately, probably next year, get that transition in left tackle as well. Because if you can do one, you can do both. Only thing you're doing is probably changing your technique a little bit. So I think they drafted Monroe Freeland to be a future left tackle. And they paid Robert Hunt a big contract. I think he got like $100 million contract. Look at my notes here. 5 years, $100 million that he signed last year. So that's $25 million a year for a guard. So they're expecting you to
Played 2 games.
yeah, they're expecting you to be on the field, man, and be readily available to contribute to this offensive line and to keep Bryce Young upright. So, but I do like some of the pieces that they have. Taylor Moton, he's been around for a while. He's probably on his last couple years in Carolina. So, start to see a youth movement on this offensive line, and hopefully we can keep Bryce up and have him perform to his maximum capability to get to what he often want to get to as well.
Key additions, key departures, as you see right there, not much on either side. But Kenny Pickett as far as backups, Jalen Phillips, who we'll talk about, Devin Lloyd as well, John Mechie, AJ Dillon for running back depth. Not doing much at this point in his career right now, and then Rasheed Walker. Key departures, Ashawn Robinson, who was a big part of the defense, DJ Warner, Andy Dalton's out the building as well, and Rico Dowdle. So what departure will hurt this team the most? Which addition will help this team the most?
Addition, I do like the Jalen Phillips. They gave him a nice one, a nice bag. I think it was 130 something like that.
It was
Something like
somewhere around there.
it was somewhere around there. I like that addition. I like Devin Lloyd coming over from Jacksonville. We've seen what he can do for a playoff team, and he turned that defense around, helped turn that defense around. Um, the Stone Forsythe, I don't understand that one because he was god awful when he played for the Vegas Raiders last year. He was like one of the worst linemen in the league, so I don't understand that. Maybe it's just for depth. In that case, and key departures, man. I don't, Rico Dowdle, man. You let 1,000 yards walk out the door and go to Pittsburgh. So yeah, I think that's gonna be one departure that I'm gonna look for. See what Jonathan Brooks can do to supplement that production that Rico Dowdle had last year. This year, 'cause that's it's hard to say I'm going to let 1,000 yards walk out the door a year. That some teams don't even get that from their starting running back. So Rico Dowdle is the key departure that I'm looking at for this football team.
Yeah, my guess is they must be really confident that Brooks
He's
can
healthy.
is healthy for 2 years. Like, I mean, it still kind of scare me a little bit, you know. I mean, who do they have on it as far as their running back room? Let me look real quick. Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, Trevor
A
Etienne,
chain.
R AJ Dillon, rookie, and Miles Davis and Anthony Tyus the third. That's not poking out to me. Um, as far as the running back position, maybe they can get somebody. Yeah, with cuts, camp cuts and everything going on. But I mean, I would at least, hey Rico, come in and sign this large 1 year deal. Uh,
So I say that I don't like the departure from Carolina to Pittsburgh for Rico, but in the same sense, you got to see what you have in Jonathan Brooks to be, to be healthy this year. You got to at least see, what he can be. Not saying that he can give you $1,000 because Chuba's the man, but if you don't want to invest that large money in running backs that's been around the league, I understand you let him walk. And then AJ Dillon, he's like you say, he's not no RB1 right now, but he can give you some, a third down power back that can get you the
Short yardage.
short yardage back that can still, do damage for you. He's not what he used to be in his yesteryears, but I like I said, the Rico one, it's hard to let $1,000 walk out the building, but Rico Dowdle has tread on his tires, and Jonathan Brooks doesn't have that much tread on the tires, but he has the question mark of injury. Can he stay healthy? So it's a fine balance in the game that you have to play, and they're betting with the young guy right now to stay healthy and give them the production that Rico was given last year. And hopefully for Jonathan Brooks' sake, I'm rooting for him because he's a very very talented guy. He can be that 1A 1B to Chuba Hubbard in the backfield.
Chuba signed a 4 year, $33.2 million contract extension November 6, 2024. That runs through 28 and 8.3 million annual salary, guaranteed of 16.4. So I can see why they didn't bring him back. Like, what we doing paying two running backs?
Yeah.
And then especially if we got the hope for this young guy who can't stay healthy.
He's on a rookie contract still, by the way.
On a rookie contract, second round pick. You spend a second round pick on him. So hopefully, Jonathan Brooks. Hopefully Brooks can be able to withstand the workload this year and stay healthy. Draft picks. First, Monroe Freeland out of Georgia. Lee Hunter, he's been creating some buzz. Chris Brazzell, who unfortunately won't be playing this season, wide receiver out of Tennessee. I forgot what the injury was.
ACL.
You get a cornerback out of Will Lee the third and Texas A&M in the fourth. Sam Heck, a center out of Kansas State. In the fifth, you also get a safety as Akeem Wheatley out of Penn State, and then Jackson Kuwash, linebacker out of Miami, Ohio, in the seventh. What draft pick are you banking on the most?
What the draft pick I was banking on the most was Chris Braswell because I know you were very high on him. Big, athletic guy, 6'5", run 4.4, coming out of Tennessee. I had good hopes for him to be that be that guy that can help ultimately bump Xavier Legette off the rotation or at least knock him down to wide receiver four. But unfortunately, he's hurt. So that's the one I was looking forward to the most. And then again, Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech, playing behind, not behind, but beside David Bailey. He was a game wrecker in the college football playoffs. He was very, very, very high on the Carolina Panthers draft board. I watched one of their series on their YouTube channel, and they were thrilled when he was there at 49. They couldn't even believe he was still there. They picked the phone up so fast, and they got that card turned in to the commissioner. So, for me, if I can't do Chris Braswell, I'll do Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. And I watched a little bit of Will Lee in the preseason. He's held his own out there, with the units that he's been running with. So those three guys, the second, third, and fourth ring guys, are the ones that I'm most interested in. Of course, we'll have to wait on Chris Braswell to redshirt his rookie season. We'll see him next year, hopefully fully healthy, to contribute to this offense.
Yes, unfortunately. Go turn to the defensive side. 15th in points allowed at 22.4, 16th in yards per game allowed, 31st in third down conversions, 21 takeaways, that ranked 10th. And then red zone defense ranked 14th. And you want to talk about, a unit that Will Lee is joining, J.C. Horn going into year 6. He played 16 games last year. You know how injury prone he was in his career or
I think
early.
it's like the first or second time him playing 16 games and a full season. I think it's the first time, right? He played.
It's the second. I want to say second or third time. I want to say because he's going to year 6. So I think 3 years he done missed like a lot of time. A lot of
Mm.
football has been missed for J.C. Horn. But 85.3 passer rating allowed, 8 PDs and 5 interceptions. You go to Mike Jackson, who's in year 8, going into year 8. He led the league in PDs with 19. So he played pretty well last year. And then look at that, Trayvon Moore, another DB who came out of that dungeon out there in Raider Land and finally get to play some postseason football. He wasn't able to do that before. So, I had to do that. He had an 82.4 passer rating allowed. This secondary led by who was it? Who was that? Ejiro Evero, former defensive coordinator for Denver. He's
Yeah.
over there leading that charge over there. And then you go to the defensive front, and you see Derek Brown right there. Was it one-time Pro Bowler? He had 73 tackles. I want to say he had over 100 tackles. I want to say year before last, because I think last year he was pretty injured. I think he only played like a handful of games.
Mm.
Devin Lloyd, I think he had 5 interceptions last year. Yeah, so he had a pretty good season last year with the Jaguars in his last year there. 81 tackles, down from his usual 100 plus. And then Jalen Phillips, 17 games across Dolphins and Eagles. The first time, I want to say that one of the times that he's played all the games because he's pretty injury prone himself. And then
Yeah, he was coming off a couple of injuries here with Miami. Then he got traded to Philly off
yeah,
his injury, and then he was signed with the Panthers in the offseason. Big 4 year 120 on the
ooh,
on the bag. So I mean, they're expecting a whole lot out of him this year.
big bag. 30 sacks. That was tied for 28 in pass rushing, and they had the worst quarterback pressure percentage in the league. Run defense out, allowing 4.4 pop. So that's where maybe Lee Hunter and can come in at. Derek Brown already at a playing at a high level.
Yeah, just imagine if they had Nick Scorching for the whole year, Lee Hunter, Derek Brown, and then Jalen Phillips with Devin Lloyd in the middle of that defense, and then that secondary that's getting better. what whatever role leading the charge, like you said, man, it could still be a good defense, but injuries, injury bug, man. You hate to see it for all these guys, man. Just stop it from reaching his maximum potential because Nick Gorton was a second round pick out of Texas A&M last year. That people were very, very, very high on as a pass rusher. So
Tershawn Wharton is also over there. He going into year 7. Remember when he came over from Kansas City, won a couple championships over there. He was coming off a 6-sack season. Came over there last year, and I think maybe injuries derailed him, or it just wasn't the same production. But I think that front seven's got a chance to be a lot better than what they were last year. You got anything else to add to that?
no, I don't have anything else to add to that, man. I just think this team has took enough blows at the injury bug. With Braswell, Scorch, and just two guys that were looking to contribute this season. And it sucks, but they got to pick themselves up off the mat and roll what they got. And if they need to make a trade or do something in free agency, I'm pretty sure they won't hesitate to.
Also, Isaiah Simmons. I didn't know Isaiah Simmons was a part of the squad going into his 6th year.
Yeah,
Nick Scott had a career year last year at safety, and then Trayvon Wallace going into his 3rd year. I think he had a pretty productive year as a linebacker as well. So Yeah, that I'm hoping this defense can be. Oh, Charles, I think it's the Charles Smith Wade. He going into his third year. He had a pretty decent year going into his third he going into his third year this year. So, um, who knows what this defense is going to do. Let's go into the schedule real quick. In week one, they got the Bears. They only got 3 primetime games, and that's saying something for a NFC South team that barely won a division. But they start off with the Bears, the Falcons, the Browns, and then the Lions on Sunday night. You hit a bye week, and then you got the Eagles, the Bucks, the Packers, the Broncos. Woo! You go with the Saints, the Ravens, the Buccaneers again on a Monday night. You got the Vikings, the Saints, Bengals, Steelers, Seahawks, and the Falcons that you're finishing off with. Uh, what's your thoughts about this schedule here?
Hey man, this probably gonna be this is a step back team. Just looking at the opponents that they had, man, this probably
First
be
place
the
schedule.
first place schedule, not a first place team. First place roster, put it like that. It's gonna be a step back in for them this year. Tough opponents, man. You got the Bears. You're looking at a much improved Browns team. The Lions gonna be back explosive. Eagles gonna be the Eagles. Bucks gonna be right there with Baker Mayfield, long as he's their quarterback. Packers, they're gonna be competitive. And gonna give you fits. The Broncos, whatever. The Saints gonna be a whole lot better. The NFC South in general is gonna be a whole lot better. Yeah, and those first place teams, the Steelers, the Seahawks. It's gonna be tough, man. Like I don't see. I'm not saying they're gonna lose. I'm not saying they're gonna win 3 games, but I don't see a path where they win more than 6 or 7, in my opinion.
Uh,
They'll beat the Broncos for sure. Like this will be one of the games where they beat the Broncos, and you come calling me mad for
of
sure.
course,
So
of course, you would say that.
why
Um,
wouldn't I?
I think I'm gonna go right along with you for the first time. It's in saying that this team might not have the success that they had last year, even though they under 500, winning 8 games to win the division. I think the NFC South as a whole will still have that type of win. Maybe around like 8, 9, 10 wins to win the division type of thing. It's gonna come down to the end of the season. You start off with the Bears, that's tough. The Falcons is a gimme. The Browns at the Browns is a gimme as well. And I mean, who knows what you're gonna get out of Detroit? Because I mean that their secondary, the J.C. Horn, one of the top 3, one of the top corners in the league, as you like to put it, you know, with him up there, and going against the Lions, and then the early bye week, I think is going to hurt you a little bit. Uh, the Eagles game at the that's a dub, that's a loss. That Bucks game, they can go either way. Maybe they split. At the Packers, I don't see that as a win. So maybe their wins will come across with some of these NFC South teams,
Yeah, and
but
the Broncos in the West. They get the Broncos too because
because what they're coming over to the East Coast, it might be a good game to go to. Hopefully, find some cheap tickets.
yeah, you can go. Yeah,
uh,
I catch it on TV for sure.
yeah, I mean, hey, I'm gonna have the Broncos winning, of course. I mean,
Of course,
of course, you
we
gonna hate, but but I don't know. I don't know. This is a tricky little schedule here. But what else do you have as far as this Panthers team? We don't win 30 minutes.
Yeah, we went 30 minutes on the Panthers, man. It's a big year for Bryce Young. For everybody in that 2023 class. Boy, I cannot talk with some of these. The 2023 class. Bryce Young, he won a big bag. He has to play well. It's all on him. He holds the cards to his future, this team's future. Dan Morgan, he's going to do the right thing once again as the GM. He's going to do the right thing for this football team. And if Bryce Young can give you 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, maybe 2 or 3 less interceptions, you might have your guy for the future. Now, how that money looks and how that contract's structured, I don't know. That's that's something that they'll work out, but it's definitely possible to be on the table for him to get that.
The wide receiver room with Ted, Jalen, Xavier, also Jimmy Horn that I didn't mention, also John Mechie, who I talked about in the key additions. No Brazel, Aeneas Smith, who's going to his second year, and then with those two tight ends, which Tommy Tremble ain't nobody's top tight ends, but
Better than Adam Troutman.
got a point. Got a point. I would put Adam Troutman above, but then you got Jatavius Sanders. How would you? Is this enough of a wide receiving group that they can, be productive and get some kind of success out of it?
Is it enough? I don't think so, man. I don't think
At the
it's enough.
TED, I don't know what you gonna do. I
I
don't know.
don't. It's not enough, bro, because of the schedule you got this year, man. You're playing some dogs. Sertain McMillan. You got Quinion Mitchell, McMillan, Cooper DeJean, whoever your number two is, clamping them up. You got Avion Terrell, AJ Terrell. Oh, you got Denzel Ward. You got Jalen Johnson. You got. I'm looking. I'm
Justin
looking.
Jefferson.
Yep, Marlon Humphrey and those boys. You got to deal with Flores' defense. You got to deal with Joey Porter Jr. and that defense out there. That you got Witherspoon and those boys out there in Seattle as well. So you're dealing with some dogs at corner on the schedule, and they're going to be on the number one's going to probably be on Ted McMillan. What does Jalen Coker and Xavier Leggett, Tommy Tremble, Jatavian Sanders? What can they bring to the table to offset the production that you're going to what are you going to do to offset the coverage that McMillan's going to get this season? So I don't think it's enough this year, unfortunately. Maybe they dip into the free agency next year, draft class next year, and get you a guy because we all know Xavier Leggett's probably on the out there. And it just hasn't worked out.
Could be a
Um,
trade candidate this
could be a trade
couple days.
candidate, could be a cut candidate. Next offseason. Who knows? So I don't think it's enough there. That's why I say Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, they're going to be key for this team. If they can run the ball, get 4 yards a clip, keep Bryce Young in short yardage situations. You got the people out there that can make a play, which gets you in trouble if when you can't run the ball and you're relying on Bryce Young to throw the ball down the field. That's where it can get sticky. And I just don't know that they have the horses in that wide receiver room to consistently keep the chains moving if the run game's not working.
Yeah, Chad, let us know what you think about Carolina Panthers and whether they had success this year, whether they had failures this year. Let us know. Tomorrow we will bring you Tampa.
Jay Quimby, this one for you, baby. I know you're a big Bucks fan out there, so I know you're gonna be hard on us. You're gonna be in the chat. You're gonna tell us when we're wrong. You're gonna disagree with me about Vita Vea, what you think about Baker Mayfield. So this one's for you. Lock in. I know you're gonna be in our inbox and saying, "Hey, bro, you doing my team a disservice, man." But yeah, the Bucks is tomorrow. Little quarterback controversy as far as getting the money. Vita Vea, finally getting a contract extension after requesting a trade. You move on from Mike Evans, Emeka Ibuka. You're the clear cut number one now. Ruben Bain, people doubted you.
See him
Here
out
we
there
go.
with the
Short arms matter, man.
yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes people overthink these things. Short arms matter, man. Keontae Scott out of Miami. I mean, yeah, out of Miami. Yeah, Jason Light continue to do Jason Light things, man. Just let's find good football players. We'll talk about the Bucks tomorrow, and that one should be fun.
Yeah, Bucks tomorrow, and shout out to Jay, man. Jay Strong, stay strong out there, brother. If you don't have anything else, this is it for the Carolina Panthers, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.